afternoon, everybody. It's Fun Friday, and we're going to talk about an issue I'm very passionate about: surviving a zombie apocalypse. Now, everyone has their own opinion on this, on how they would do it, this and that. No. I have thought this out thoroughly. I have the answers for you. But I first think we need to discuss on how this could actually happen in real life. I have two scenarios for you, and then one fun one. The first real scenario is there could be an economic collapse in America. Without getting into too much of the details, I don't have the facts in front of me right now. I didn't do any research for this, but, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't have the research in front of me, let's put it that way. Obviously in America, we can have an economic collapse just like any other country has had. Look at Venezuela. That could happen here. Don't ever think that it couldn't happen here. That's the first thing. It could happen here. I mean, the thing that we have here now, it's incredible. It's amazing. I love being here. But you also have to understand that a lot of things, for you to get your Amazon package, it requires 100 different cogs and different things to all spin coherently and smoothly to get the thing that you want. If there's an economic collapse, none of that stuff is moving. All that stuff is broken and needs to be rebuilt, and it takes time. So economic collapse is real. You look at our national debt, you look at our unfunded liability spending, and you just realize this is unsustainable. At some point, this could crash. And I think maybe in our lifetime it will crash, but that's a different story. The next thing that could happen is a realistic thing that could happen is an EMP wave. Right now, Mark Levin actually had on his first show, I think it was on when it was called Levin TV, he had a gentleman on who was talking about the electrical grids, how they're open right now. They could be protected. He said we could take the money that we give Pakistan for 1 year, which is like $2 billion, something like that. He said if we just didn't give Pakistan money for 1 year, we would have enough money to protect our infrastructure, our electrical grid, from an EMP wave attack. Now, for those who don't know, an EMP wave is when you detonate a nuclear bomb in the atmosphere, and somehow it sends out this EMP, which is electromagnetic pulse. It basically fries all electrical equipment. It just destroys it. So your cars, your computers, any device that I thought it was any electrical device had power through it, but someone has told me since then that it is any electrical device whatsoever. It just sends a surge through it and just fries anything that has electrical components to it. And that would be horrible, because then you're looking at, it's not like a power outage where, it'll be up in a few hours or maybe a couple of days. No, if we're talking months, maybe even a year, who knows. But, so those are two kind of real scenarios where you might have to do this. And when I say, of course, zombie apocalypse, I mean worse than zombies, because at least zombies are brainless and they don't know how to use tools or guns or trickery or anything like that. You're dealing with real people who, at some point are probably going to try to kill you to take your stuff. So we got to deal with that. Now, the fun one, which is, obviously totally fake, but still kind of thought-provoking. Google the horsehair worm, and what you'll find is the horsehair worm has an interesting way. What it does is it will, I think it starts as an egg and some bug eats it and then it goes in the stomach. When it hatches in the stomach, it can travel up to the bug's brain, attach itself to the brain, and it controls the bug now. And that is terrifying. So then it takes the bug, and I think it usually makes it commit suicide somehow, maybe by drowning it, and then it comes out and eats it or something. I have no idea. I didn't want to even know about it because the thing was so horrifying to me. So imagine if that thing evolved to attach itself to the human brain, and it just goes, holy crap, I have so much ability, and now I have consciousness, and now I'm this and that. Like, who knows? And it just took over, and now it's like, well, obviously I have to kill all regular humans because they're going to try to kill me. So that's horrifying. But that is a fantasy. That will never happen. Who knows? You never know. But so, to the point, zombie apocalypse. Or in this case, real world, economic collapse, nuclear, EMP wave. What this means is now you have no electricity. You have refrigeration. You have no infrastructure, basically. You have no communication. Everything, that's it. What you see is what you get. Now, obviously, the first 2 weeks are going to be crucial because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember my dual survival training, I used to have a show, Dual Survivor, or Dual Survival, and it was awesome. Definitely one of the better survival shows, I think, in my opinion. But I think the human body can live without food for probably, I want to say, a week. Maybe 2 weeks, but I think at least a week. Water is a very different story. Water, you need that. I think you can survive, 3 days without water, and then you're just dead. So those first 2-3 weeks are going to be crucial. You are not going to want to move. You are going to want to board up your house, board up your windows. Don't let anyone in at all for those first 3 weeks because people are going to be desperate. People are going to be looking for food and stuff, and you just don't know. You don't know their motives. So just let that play out. Let 3 weeks go by, and after that, now in the meantime, so you have 3 weeks. In fact, I would even say a month, because what you're going to do now that you listen to this podcast, you are going to get not a handgun, nothing. You're going to get guns. You're going to get a shotgun. You're going to get a little 22 or something like that, and you're going to buy some bullets. Once a month, buy a pack, throw it in the basement for whatever. So you're going to stock up. You'll have your guns and your ammo. And nothing crazy. We're not talking about assault rifles or whatever. Nothing tactical. Just plain old Billy Bob, run of the loo, whatever. Just your little plink plink 22 rifle. I mean, maybe get a powerful BB gun if you really don't want to buy the gun. Get like a nice pellet gun that will really, whack a bird in the head or something like that, or take out a squirrel or something. I would recommend just get a 20 gauge shotgun. Crack barrel. Whatever, something simple, something cheap, actually, but not too cheap. It might break down on you over time. So you're going to do that. You're going to go to My Patriot Supply or a similar product, and you're going to get these what are they? Food tubs, I guess. They're like those freeze-dried foods that will last you 25 years, and God forbid if you ever run out of food for whatever reason. Oh, because by the way, without electricity, without HVAC, you have no supermarkets, you have no food, you have no, not delivery systems, what do I say? You have no infrastructure, you have no commerce, you have no trucks, basically. You don't have trucks delivering food or anything. You have no oil. There's no production. There's no oil coming up. There's no oil being delivered to places. There's nothing. There's no gas. There's no cars. There's nothing. So you're going to go and you're going to buy these totes that have all this food in them. They're called My Patriot Supply. Then you can put in promo code Dan. It's from the Dan Bongino show. That's how I know about it. And yeah, you just buy these. You have 4 members of the family. You buy 4 of them. Oh God, it's $400. Buy it. Don't be a pansy about it. Listen, you spend more money probably buying beer than, if you probably spend $400 on beer in a year. You probably do. And realistically, and I'm going to sound like I'm pitching for them because this is exactly their pitch, but they're correct and they're geniuses for this. This is what I would have said anyway if they had hired me. We insure everything that matters in our life, basically. Our cars, our home, we have life insurance. Why would you not insure your food supply? So go there, get each one for a family member. It's good for a month, and this is crucial. So you buy that, but remember, you also need water. So as much food as you have, you need probably at least 2 times the water. But if you don't want to be too crazy, just get the same amount of water that you have. So that way you have a solid supply of food and water. So this is what you're going to live off of for the next at least month. You have a month. You could come out earlier if you want, but I would hunker down for those first 3 weeks and just let the chaos settle down, because what's going to happen is the people, if you're living in lower, let's say Rockland County, Westchester County, if you're in Connecticut, you're going to get the masses from the cities. So the cities are going to be total. If you're in the city, get out. That's your first priority. Either A, do what I'm telling you. Actually, no, I take that back. You're in the city, do what I'm telling you now, minus the gun stuff, because it'll never work. Just get the food, get the water, and when it happens, do not leave your apartment for 3 weeks, at least a month. Actually, I would say 2.5 weeks, then start poking around, creeping about, because let the chaos settle down. You want to survive, you want to live, and the city is going to be a nightmare. So what do you do after? This is the crucial question. So now you're living off your supplies. You're good for now. You're okay. But this is the crucial time where other skills are going to kick in. You're going to need to know how to make primitive fire, because once this food runs out, you're going to be hunting. You're a hunter now. Congratulations. You're going to be hunting. You're going to be scavenging. This is going to be your life now. This is why I love America as it is right now, because we don't have to think about survival. But now you're going to have to think about survival. So now all you're thinking about is food, water, protection. That's it. Protection from both the elements and from other people that might want to steal your crap. So that's going to be your life for a while. But primitive fire making is going to be key to surviving, because you're going to have to cook stuff and it's going to keep you warm. So and eventually, hey, you could probably get away with using all these tricks that people do with, spark plugs and fuel and what's that one? They have the one with the 9-volt battery and those little foily scrubbers. I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, you can make fire a lot of different ways. Learn them all. Know how to do them all. But at the end of the day, you really need to figure out how to make fire with wood. Just wood and your hands. Now, with that in mind, there are ways you can make that easier for you. So, for example, you have a lot of different methods. You have the hand drill method, you have the bow drill method, you have the fire pump method, you have the fire piston, which is actually a cool device, although it is still pretty hard to make it work. What else do you have? There's the fire plough. There's a bunch of different ways you can make fire. My suggestion to you is, I've tried a lot of these out, and I think the bow drill is probably one of the better methods. Now, with that said, be smart about it. Prepare for this kind of stuff. Get pre-make all this stuff. Get a bow. Get like some kind of, not like some crappy wooden bow. Get like I'm sure they make some plastic, carbon fiber bow now. Get a paracord for your string. Then you can also, right now we have Home Depot. Use it. Dry out a bunch of 2x4 or something. Get some heartboards. Get some heartboard supplies. Get like 50 of them. Do the same thing with the spindles. Do that. A cool trick then, because I think about this as a 5-piece set, for the pressure plate that goes on top of the spindle, get some like cheap wheel bearing or something, even like a broken wheel bearing or something. Well, maybe not broken, but get a wheel bearing. Get something with like a bearing so you reduce all the friction. You're gonna believe me. You can make all these pieces. You can look at it, make them more intelligent, and it makes your life easier. To be starting fires much easier for you. You'll be glad you did it. But either way, find a way to make fire. And so at that point, let's say now you're a fire-making master, you are hunting, you're maintaining your self-sufficiency here. Once you've done that, now it gets bold. Now is when you're okay, you're surviving, you have your water supply, your food supply, you're maintaining it. You got to remember that you got to use that responsibly, and you have to be creative. You might say, listen, all right, I might have to do, you always have to be doing different stuff. Your life is going to change, obviously. You're not going to be able to eat as much as you used to. You have to do things sparingly. You have to mix things up. You don't want to focus too heavily, like, you can't kill all the squirrels. You got to maybe I'll do squirrel one day, do something else the other day, but you got to always be thinking about food. You got to get back into the dehydration of stuff for planning long-term stuff. Just be self-sufficient. Now, you have two things you have to consider. And this is a big choice you're going to have to make when this happens. Do I say, if you're in the Northeast area, do you stay down here, or stay up here, I should say, or do you migrate somewhere? And this is a big choice, because the next thing you're going to do is even bigger. So if you're going to move down south, which probably would be the best option, because the winters up here in the Northeast are just brutal and horrible, and you'd have to really be real tough to survive them. But on the flip side of that, food might be plentiful for you, because I think most people are who are around, they might not survive. And if you can do it, if you can survive, you can tough it out and conduct yourself properly, then you'll have more resources at your disposal. But if you go down south, just you're going to want to pack up. Then you're going to be living a rough life. That is going to be rough. You're going to want to probably do it in increments. You're going to want to travel as much far as you can. The whole time traveling for the future. So anytime you see something, you're going to want to take stuff and think, you know what, I'll take that for the future, take that for the future. You're going to have to gauge. I mean, at some point you might run out of supplies. It might be better to sit down in one spot for a little bit and kind of gather up your supplies again. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And that's going to be a lot like Walking Dead stuff. You're going to run into people, and who knows, they're going to try to kill you, or they could be your best friend. You never know. It's very stressful. So let's say now you're at the place where you're going to be at. This is the hardest part. Now you have to rebuild society. Yeah, it's on you. If you're the one, you're there, you're self-sufficient, you have to rebuild society. Now the obvious question is, how do you do that? Well, you're going to have to, this is where it gets tough, you're going to have to open up to people and pray to God that you can find some trustworthy people along this journey of yours, because you're going to need to reinstitute some kind of order, because anarchy just does not work. The anarchists, I don't know what evidence they have to show that their system would work. What they'll do is they'll point to a society that already is heavily influenced by Christian, and we see this with, Ben Shapiro and Sam Harris are a great example of this. Sam Harris will say, oh, listen, like, look at us right now, and we're so great, and we're not religious at all. And Ben Shapiro will go, yes, because you grew up in a culture that was undergirded by all this Judeo-Christian faith and values, and you just assume, like, you're not piecing it together. Like, this couldn't just happen anywhere. This doesn't just happen anywhere. It happens for a very specific reason, because we're surrounded and inculcated by a very specific, unique value set. So you need to continue that is what you need to do. And so you need to organize society around those things again. And so this is where you're going to have to know your Constitution, because if you're going to assume all this responsibility that the government's doing today, good luck, because you're going to piss people off and you're not going to last long on top. You have to have some kind of government. And I would recommend that, it may not be the Constitution itself, but it has to be some kind of derivative of it, because there's a thing called human nature, a thing called the human condition, and just because we're all gone doesn't mean the human experience and human history is any less meaningful. So the more liberty-minded you can be, the better, but you have to have standards. You have to have some kind of moral code. In other words, you need some kind of law and law enforcement, basically. Judicial, I am not convinced that we really even need a judiciary. This is obviously an experimental thought right now, which maybe we'll dive into in another podcast, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I think there's a way you can get around a judicial branch. But in any case, so you need some kind of government, you need to find good people, you need to police those people and make sure everyone's happy and everyone's good, and if there are disputes, you got to settle them and make sure everyone's happy without the chaos that we see, like in The Walking Dead, where people think, oh, well, there's no government to watch us. No, you want them to think that, no, there are consequences to my actions. That's the big problem that we saw all the time in The Walking Dead, is that there was this sense that there was no government, there was no rules, and that people were above the law, and that's why you had what you had. Now, Rick, obviously, actually, I didn't even watch the last season, so I don't know, but it seems that he spared Negan at the end, which everyone wanted to kill him, and Rick was said, no, we are not going to do that. And that was really perfect of him to do that, because you got to think, look at like the Nuremberg trials, which is also going to be a film review we're going to do. There's a documentary about the Nuremberg trials, and one of the interesting things is that, I guess from me, I don't know if they said it, but it was a thought I had, is that this was something that if the Nazis won the war, or God forbid the communists, there would have been no trials. There might have been a show trial where they just, got us in there, told us how terrible we were, and then took us out back and blew us all away in mass graves. But the fact that we didn't do that, we had trials, we gathered evidence, their own stupid files, and put them on trial. I mean, obviously I think we hung all of them, but it was fair. We didn't just kill them. I think we gave them their day in court. And that just speaks to the civility and oh God, it's the West in a nutshell. You could just take the most purest evil. We could have slaughtered all those guys, and probably everyone would have been like, you know what, yeah, that's fine by me. I mean, certainly today, even the guys on the left, I mean, they're attacking people who are not Nazis, but but yeah, I mean, probably no one would have been really sad that we did that. We wouldn't be condemned for that. But we didn't. We had trials, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So you reestablish society, and I mean, that's it. Just rebuild it. Just, you know, the best thing you can do after that is really foster good education to the next generation. You reestablish society, you get things running, you get things moving, you get things being efficient. Then you just have to say, all right, listen, kids, there used to be this thing called the world that we used to have, and we had all this cool crap in it, where they had this and we had that, and you know, you're gonna have to fill in some gaps. I mean, I don't know the super specifics of Einstein's theory of relativity, but you know, I could kind of describe gravity and the time-space continuum, like, to a degree. I could talk about black holes. Like, I got that stuff. I could draw that out. You're gonna do a lot of writing. You're gonna do a lot of talking with people. Ideally, and one of the things that's I think underrated is you're gonna want to look for a lot of books. You're going to want knowledge again. And thank God we will have books, because the internet will be dead and gone. You're going to want a lot of books. You're going to want a lot of how-to books. Make sure you have a Bible too. I mean, like it or not, you need to fill that void of there is something better than me and greater than me out there. Just get a Bible. Just trust me. Don't fight me on this one. Just do it. Because if you don't fill that void with something good, it's going to get filled with something bad. And that is how you survive a zombie apocalypse. I might have missed a thing or two, but I think that's about it. But until the zombie apocalypse comes, remember to always just don't be afraid to be offensive, be truthful, be compassionate, have fun, and enjoy life as much as you possibly can.